Welcome to the August 2023 committee meetings of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that Council is now web streaming its standing committees and council meetings live to the internet, and as such, all those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Your attendance at this meeting is your acceptance of the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open the August 2023 Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee meetings, the time being 5:33 p.m. The first item is item IPEC 23/31, Acknowledgement of Country. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Present and emerging of the Wiradjuri Nation, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal peoples from other nations who are present today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Next, we have item IPEC 23/32, Leave of Absence. I've received an apology from Councillor Burns. Can I please have someone move that the apology from Councillor Burns be accepted? Moved Councillor Wells, seconded Councillor Wright. Thank you. Any questions or debate? Councillors, there being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. Item IPEC 23/33 is conflict of interests. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? There being none, we'll move on to reports from staff. The next item is item IPEC 23/34, Saxa Road, Camabella Crossing, Mitchell Creek Causeway options. Can I please have someone move that the recommendation of the report of the, I'll move the recommendation of the report of the operations engineer. Councillor Ivey.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move a slightly amended motion.
Alternative motion?
Alternative motion.
Even better.
Sorry.
Yes, Councillor Ivey.
Could I read that? Recommendation, the first 2 points are the same, that Council seek tenders for a design and construction of either a box culvert crossing or a bridge to replace the damaged Coomabella Crossing culvert in line with options 2 and 3 outlined within the business paper, IPEC 23/34. 2, that Council seek funding under the Bridge Replacement Program and Disaster Recovering Funding Arrangements Program to supplement project costs. And 3, that Council write to the Minister for Roads advising of the importance of this project and seeking support from the Minister to secure necessary funding.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Etheridge, thank you. Councillor Ivey, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman. Look, obviously a replacement crossing and that section of road is absolutely vital. It's been out of action now for a considerable time following flooding, and that flooding has highlighted that the existing structure, even before it was completely damaged, was inadequate. The staff have put forward options there, have said that probably one of the one option of building almost a Meccano set type bridge is not, for various reasons, is not the preferred solution, and I again would support that view. So that leaves then the 2 options of either a box culvert type crossing or a major bridge. Again, this motion aims to put it out to the market and to see which of those 2 alternatives, the box culvert or the damage or the replacement bridge, the market thinks is possible and what the cost would be. And when those tenders come back in, then Council can decide what is the most cost-effective basis of building either that box culvert crossing or the bridge. Seeking funding is obviously important. That we do believe that there will be funding forthcoming to fulfil that or complete that crossing. But I think that 3rd point of where we asked right to the Minister for Roads advising of the importance of this crossing, because it's not just an important crossing for our local government area, it's an important crossing for the state economy. It is causing considerable disruption now to users of that from outside our area, from the northern end of the state to the southern end of the state. And it's really, it's in the government's interest that that crossing be replaced and repaired and completed to something that withstand more floods, greater flooding events that we're perhaps going to experience in future. And so that by doing this crossing, we won't get a situation where that road is cut probably at least every 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any other questions or comments, councillors? No? I'd just like to have my little say then before we put it to a vote. I agree with a lot of what Councillor Ivey said there. We do see in the report that it would cost about $470,000 to replace the existing culvert. That then does have the problem that it goes underwater every 10 years or so. But really, the good thing about this alternative motion is that we write to the Minister for Regional Transport and Roads seeking the additional funding, remembering that Saxa Road is a regional road. It's not just a local road. It carries a lot of traffic, as Councillor Ivey said, moving from the north of our LGA to the south. It shouldn't just be up to WA Regional Council ratepayers to build back better for what will essentially be helping the wider community and a lot of logging trucks. We know that as soon as this is rebuilt, all these logging trucks will be coming out of the bushfire areas up north down to the timber mill at Oberon. I really don't think it should be up to us, the WA ratepayers, to fund all of that when we could, for $0 to council, replace the existing culvert, which goes underwater every 10 years. Is that something we can live with in these troubled financial times? I certainly could, I think. But I'll be interested to see what comes back from the funding under the Bridge Replacement Program, disaster recovery funding arrangements, etc. And hopefully we can do a bit better and see what the tenders are. So, having said that, we'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. The next item is item IPC 23/35, Building Summary, July 2023. Can I please have someone move the recommendation of the report of the Director, Development and Environment? Councillor Wright, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wright, do you have any questions or comments you'd like to make on that? Speak to the motion.
Look, only obviously there's a rather substantial development that was approved in there that's contributed quite significantly to that that $82 million for the July period. I guess we stripped that out, and that brings us back to about a $17 million value of approved applications. Obviously, a little bit down on that same period last year. I guess it's probably indicative of a market we're in at the moment, where people are a bit hesitant to reach out and borrow money to construct, etc. So I don't think so. I think that development obviously provides a significant number of alternate type of accommodations as well with regards to units, etc. Which I think is only good going forward to offer alternate accommodation. So all good otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any other questions or comments, councillors? There being none, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? I declare the motion carried. There are no further items for consideration of the Infrastructure Planning and Environment Committee, and I declare the meeting closed at the time being 5:40 p.m.
Thank you. I now open the August 2023 Culture and Community Committee meeting at the time being 5:42 p.m. Leave of absence. I have a leave of absence from Councillor Burns. Can I have someone move that? Councillor Chowdhury, second by Councillor Wells. All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/64, conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare? Right, moving on to the next item. Item CCC 23/65, report of the Aquatics Working Party meeting on the 17th of July. Moved by Councillor Black, second by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Black, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Yes, only very briefly. Thank you, Madam Chair. It was a very lively and well-attended meeting of the Aquatics Party. We worked through a number of things, including the recent leasing out of the pool management and how it's going to work moving forward. There was a lot of representation from the swimming clubs, which is great to see. And I think there was a lot of questions answered, and it was good to have the manager of the new contractor there. So, positive meeting. Yeah, it was good. Thank you. Oh, hang on, sorry. And we also looked at the previous plans for a heated swimming pool and talked about what could be done into the future to get Dubbo a much needed, in my opinion, 52-week-a-year heated indoor swimming pool. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate? Mr Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's interesting from Councillor Black there in relation to that pool and some other previous plans. Is there anything that might be coming further than that? The Aquatic Centre Working Party looked at those plans. Is that something that we're going to get to see as councillors those plans forwarded on, or is it going to be some recommendation from that working party? Because obviously some people in the community are very keen to see something developed along those lines, and if there's some previous plans there, it'd be good to see those or have those brought through maybe the Aquatic Centre Working Party through to council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd have to go back through the CEO to the director about the status of those plans and what can be released and what can't, etc.
Mr Arms?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. Yeah, it was an interesting discussion of those older plans. That they certainly look very attractive. At the time, cost estimate, they're some years old now, and certainly so that the costs around the construction of those facilities would be different, certainly. And so to go forward in that space, we would need to really dust those off and recalculate the cost of those under current material costs, labour costs, etc., as well as initiate community consultation as well. Those plans have largely been sitting dormant now, but still remain there for viewing and working.
Thank you.
Sorry, Madam Chair, it didn't sound like an answer there. Is that something that councillors can see? I understand what Mr Arms is saying, that the costing might be out of date, but it would still be interesting to see those plans, and we could probably put some estimations of costs on top of those. I'm not sure if those plans are able to be distributed to councillors or whether that's something that would go through the Aquatic Centre Working Party, but I think it'd be good to see those plans. I wasn't aware that there were plans that were already done up recently to actually have a look at there.
Through to the CEO.
I wasn't with council at the time. I believe there may be some contractual issues with making them public, is what I understand. I'll take that on notice and respond to councillors out of session, if I will, and bring that back to you in terms of how can we make them public? Are they able to be public? Is there a means by which we can make them public?
Thank you.
Yep.
To you, Madam Chair, the CEO, and if not public for whatever reason they may not be public, at least it'd be nice for councillors to see those and actually get a handle on that, because again, people do ask from the community and want to know what's going on with the potential for an indoor heated pool, and so it'd be good to actually have some information there.
That's through Madam Chair. I'll take, in terms of taking on a notice, that's to say I will give them, but whether they can actually be made public is something I'm unsure of at this time, but certainly councillors will have access to them on the hub.
Councillor Ivey. You've been chugging your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to move on to another point, Madam Chair. So if Councillor Black's
okay.
got another question in relation to this, it would be better to hear it now.
Yep. Councillor Black.
I was only going to repeat what the CA just said. They're in the hub.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey.
Madam Chair, a comment, perhaps more than a question in relation to the Aquatics Working Group. It seems to me that there's a very high requirement that the new management system for the pools be successful. That outsourcing the management of them, it's very important that that whole process be successful and the community come on board with it and be very happy with it. As part of doing that, I ask or make a comment in relation to the role of the Aquatics Working Group. It does seem to me that the that Aquatics Working Group perhaps is going to assume more importance than it has even in previous years, because they will have a role to try to, as a go-between between the community and the council and the new managers, to make sure the whole system works. I note the comment in the report where it says that it was noted that the purpose of the working party, as outlined in the terms of reference, is centred around providing advice on aquatic leisure centre developments, not the operation of the centres themselves. But I just wonder whether that whether those terms of reference might need reviewing, because perhaps the Aquatics Working Group would have a very positive and constructive role to play in making sure that the actual operation of the pool was seen by the community as successful and did really engage the community. So I just throw that in as a comment that perhaps that terms of reference of the Aquatics Working Group should be or could be reviewed with the aim of expanding the terms of reference to help to make sure that the Aquatics Working Group does play a very positive and constructive role in making this whole system work.
Would just throw it to Director Craig Arms.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I think Councillor Ivey. Well, certainly it's timely with the advisory committees at the moment undertaking a review, and that's something we can certainly look at. Without a doubt, the Belgravia Leisure management team are highly committed to consulting with the stakeholder groups. They have made it very clear to us as a council, but to that advisory committee and to the user groups, their commitment to work with them. They see the success and enjoyment of the community and user groups at the pool as integral to their own success. And so I think we've got a good consultative environment in which to go forward in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate? We voted. All those in favour? Thank you. I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/66, report of the Disability Access and Inclusion Advisory Committee meeting on the 24th of July. May I have someone move that? Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Wells, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to sort of make mention that I've said it before, I was really impressed by the roll-up of attendees for the Disability Action, or sort of Disability Inclusive. This is really a problem, naming of this committee. Impressed by the number of people that came along and their passion and their robust discussion. A lot of, myself included, people are not necessarily happy with the terminology disability, and I'm hoping we can look at that terminology in the future and have it more around using the word inclusiveness and accessibility and that type of language. It was really interesting that we talked about, there's lots of people interested in that. We've just started this committee. It was the first committee in July, and yet they're meant to go for a mayoral term. So there was certainly a strong desire to extend it out for the next term, finishing next year rather than this September. So we're hoping that that will be supported. You know, as I've said before, people are taking away the action plan to review it and come back. I think next meeting, which we've asked to come back earlier, I believe it's actually next month or next week, sorry. So it's a good meeting. I'm really glad that we finally got it off the ground, and happy to see the ball rolling with that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/67, report of the Social Justice Advisory Committee/Youth Council, meeting on the 1st of August. Moved by Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Wells, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, please, Madam Chair. Another really good meeting. We had combined both the Social Justice Advisory Committee and the Youth Council Committee, and it was really impressive to see the strong engagement and really good discussion from all of the members. I was particularly impressed by the youth who attended on the day and the content that they shared with the planning, and that was specifically, I should mention, sorry, was specifically around our planning, kicking off that discussion around our community safety action plan, and I'll just leave that for more discussion later on. But I've just, again, I think that was probably one of the better meetings that we've had, and hopefully we can continue those two meetings to be combined rather than having them separate, because we've got, I think it's a little bit more practical, a little bit more efficient having both committees combined. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/68, report of the Public Spaces Tree Committee, meeting on the 2nd of August. Moved by Councillor Black, second by Councillor Wells. Councillor Black, do you wish to speak to that?
Only briefly, thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, it was a very good meeting. There was lots of information presented by the Manager of Recreation and Open Spaces, Mr McAllister. There was some very interesting heat maps and vegetation cover maps of Dubbo and Wellington provided for discussion and explanation, and basically it was a positive meeting with lots of questions being asked about tree planting options around the LGA. It was good to see good roll up and lots of audience participation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey?
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'd like to reinforce Councillor Black's comments. It was a very good meeting. It's interesting. I think I've noticed even in the last 12 months the awareness and appreciation of the whole canopy cover, tree preservation type issue. It's become much more front and centre, not just within the community but within the council. And I think there is really a positive move to improve the vegetation within our LGA. Obviously, the next step now is to really make sure that we can secure and allocate more funding to make that happen. I think we're starting to get some good information about what should happen, and now we need to be able to try to implement that. I think probably the first bit's been the easier part. I think the second part might be a bit harder.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Reports from staff. Item CCC 23/69, Community Safety Workshop. Moved by, can I have someone move that? Councillor Wells, second by Councillor Etheridge. Councillor Wells, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I spoke to it briefly a moment ago. There's been some really good work that's been happening within council and the committees so far. We've still got a bit of way to go before we get through all of the workshops. I just think that that's a great opportunity for us as a council and the committees to start addressing some of the safety concerns that have been emerging in Dubbo Regional Council LGA. So I just think there's some good work happening so far. A little bit to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. Item CCC 23/70, Macquarie Regional Library Performance Report, April to June. Can I have someone move the report? Councillor Ivey, second by Councillor Wright. Councillor Ivey, do you wish to speak to that one?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of comments at how gratifying it is to see the increased usage and patronage of the library. Obviously, recovering from the pre-COVID issues. Well, hang on, recovering from the COVID issues in this post-COVID environment, and that's good. But we'd all think that recovery would have happened, but I was actually quite surprised of the extent to which it happened. I think it's very good. Just again, anecdotally, I do notice occasionally as I drive past there are cars using the EV charging station outside the Wellington Library, and I've often wondered whether they're inside, whether they said, "Oh, let's charge here and let's go inside and send some emails or read the newspaper or browse." And I don't know if that's occurring, but I would suspect it is. So I think that's a win-win. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or debate? Councillor Black?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was interesting to read in the report about the funding that comes from the state government. It says the New South Wales state government, this is for libraries, 2022-2023 year, library subsidy payment is $2.85 per capita, and then there's some other add-ons based on socioeconomic index, etc. But we all know that libraries are grossly underfunded. We know how important they are, and it's a great shame that the state government has really not kept up with the funding required to really help libraries maintain their place, very important place in the community that they are needed and they provide, and they really do need extra funding from the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other comments or debate? All those in favour? I declare the motion carried. There are no more further items for consideration of the Culture and Community Committee, and I declare the meeting closed at the time being 5:59 p.m.
Welcome, and I declare open the Corporate Services Committee meeting at 6:00 p.m. The first item on the agenda, CSC 23/44, leave of absence. I have an apology from Councillor Burns. Can someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Wells. Discussion or debate, councillors? Being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is conflicts of interest, CSC 23/45. Any conflicts of interest, councillors? Being none, I move on. CSC 23/46, investment under Section 625 of the Local Government Act. Have someone move that report, please? Thanks, Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Wells. Any discussion or debate? Being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CSC 23/47, Australia Day survey results for 2023 ceremonies and planning for 2024. Has someone got a motion? Councillor Wells? Councillor Wells has, so there's an alternative motion to that, such as printed in the papers.
That is, yes. I have an alternative motion, and would you like me to read it?
I would, thank you.
Thank you. So the alternative Australia Day survey results for 2023 ceremonies and planning for 2024 ceremonies has a recommendation that is 1, that the report of the Manager Corporate Governance be noted. 2, that the Australia Day ceremonies for Wellington and Dubbo be held on the evening of Thursday the 25th of January 2024 at 6:30 p.m. 3, that an expression of interest process be undertaken to form Australia Day committees for Dubbo and Wellington. 4, that food and beverage options along with activities are to be similar at both ceremonies. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for Councillor Wells? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge. So, Councillor Wells, would you like to speak to your motion, please?
I would thank you, Mr. Chair. So, look, there's This year we had a lot of feedback, and I can see that there are results in the report of 109 people who completed the survey. Just the chatter at the Wellington one and the number of people that attended, it was a really good event. We've taken on board the need to push it back later, taken on board that, all of the other information. But both events, I think, for me, for this year, were really pleasing to see incorporation of First Nations people, Indigenous people, Aboriginal, whatever language you want to use, to see that unity coming through strong for me is really good. That's all I thought I'd share. I'm sure there are other comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Any other discussion or debate? Councillor Ivey or Wright? Okay, Ivey. Ivey, then Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, again, I'd endorse Councillor Wells' comments. I think the Wellington event was very successful. We had very good attendance, certainly in my opinion, higher than it had been for many years, even in the pre-COVID era. The feedback we received, I received personally on the night and subsequently, was all very positive. I think that it managed to really help assimilate different kind of views and people. It enables it's still a celebration of the 26th of January, but it is done so in recognition of First Nations people, and really meaning that day, although meaning something different to First Nation people, is equally important and should be recognised. I think so that's sort of a more philosophical sort of viewpoint. But from a practical point of view, having it on the eve of Australia Day, particularly this in 2024, this coming event, which Australia Day occurring on a Friday, means that having it on the eve of Australia Day effectively means then there is a 3-day long weekend. And that means that people can, on the day, on the 26th of January, recognise it, and I say recognise rather than celebrate. They can recognise the day as they wish. They can have their own backyard barbecues with family and friends. They can go to the dam and go skiing. They can go on a holiday and ignore the day completely if they so wish. But at least by having it on the eve, it's focusing the community, it's bringing them together to recognise Australia Day. It really is a very good opportunity for a community event. The Wellington event last year, or this last time earlier this year, achieved that. It really did bring the community together. There was a bit of criticism to say that it was a little bit too early, and it was. 5:30 meant the day was still fairly hot, and it didn't enable some people to finish work, go home, clean up, and come to the event because there just wasn't time. Similarly, a lot of people, Wellington people work in Dubbo, and it didn't give them the time to return home in time for the event to start. So by pushing it back to 6:30, I think we've overcome that major objection, and I would hope that really it would be this coming event will be every bit as successful as last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. I've got Councillor Wright, and then I've noticed your hand up, Councillor Mann, as well. So you're after Councillor Wright. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question with regards to citizenship ceremonies for 2024 on Australia Day. Would we expected there to be a citizenship ceremony both in Wellington and in Dubbo on that day?
That would be determined by how many people register. I would take a guess to say that there would be people in Dubbo there will be citizenship in Dubbo. There's usually enough numbers for that. Wellington, for example, this year there wasn't a citizenship ceremony only because there weren't people in Wellington who had qualified and registered for that. So it would really come down to that. If, for example, there were people in both Wellington and Dubbo that were going to attend a citizenship, then the Deputy Mayor would logically conduct the citizenship ceremony in Wellington, and the Mayor would conduct the one in Dubbo. Again, that's not set in stone, but that would be the logic, because typically both the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor are given authorisation by the federal government to actually perform citizenship ceremonies. So it would able to be happen at both, but based on past years, it probably would mean there'd be none in Wellington and one in Dubbo would be held.
Sure, thank you. And obviously noting those changes that allow that citizenship ceremony to take place either side of Australia Day for next year and ongoing. I'm looking. I'll oppose this motion and just foreshadow an alternative motion. It would read the same. Very similar to that of Councillor Wells, being that one, the report of the Manager of Corporate Governance be noted, but however, two, that the 2025 LGA Australia or WLGA Australia Day ceremonies be held in a similar fashion to 2023, being one event held on the eve of 25th of January, or the evening of the 25th of January, and a second event on the morning of the 26th of January, and then carrying on from Councillor Wells's motion, item 3, an expression of interest process be undertaken to form Australia Day committees for Dubbo and Wellington. Look, my reasoning for that is, the two events, in my opinion, seemed to work very well last year. There are, certainly, as Councillor Ivey suggested, a later start to an evening one would help people to commute either to Wellington or to Dubbo to attend an evening event. I know last year we had the evening event, obviously on the eve of Australia Day, held in Wellington. There's nothing to say that maybe on this occasion we could test the water and possibly host that type of event in Dubbo as well, and have maybe the Wellington can be hosted the following morning. So I'd be interested to hear some commentary on that. As a councillor, I certainly enjoyed attending both of those events and chatting to members of both communities. Actually, it was certainly the Wellington one in the evening. There's some really positive feedback there, and again, great to be in Dubbo the following morning. And certainly, there's probably members of the community who also like to attend both. So that's my thoughts, but just foreshadowing that alternative motion and my thoughts against the current motion on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. And just for the record, there obviously to go forward with Councillor Wright's motion. If you support that, then you defeat the current motion because it's a direct negative. One part of it's a direct negative, so you defeat the current motion, and then Councillor Wright could move his motion. If the current motion is successful, then I wouldn't allow your motion, obviously, which is why you foreshadowed that. So thank you, Councillor Wright. Councillor Mann.
You on mute.
Just on mute. Sorry, Councillor Mann.
Apologies. Councillor Wright's probably just about covered most of the points that I was going to raise. I will also vote against this motion. For all those reasons that Councillor Wright stated, two other points I'd like to raise was that the Australia Day ceremony, we actually had some people that we know very, very well that were in the Australia Day ceremony last year, and to see how proud they were on Australia Day, I thought it was very, very meaningful for them. So that'd be one point. But the other one is that there's a big event happening probably October this year, a referendum. And last year we took a brave decision to do the Wellington one earlier. It's got mixed reactions. Some people liked it, some people didn't, and that's fine. That's what society's all about. I just think if this, I could see that doing this this year, if we move the Dubbo one at the same time, could also cause a ruckus at a time when we probably need to focus on bigger issues as far as what's coming towards. I do see eventually that we can probably do both of them on the eve. I think it makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons, but I'd like to hasten slowly and do the same as we did last year, the Wellington PM and the Dubbo AM on the 26th. It was our first year at it last year, but we could probably do a lot better, and I think you'll get a better feel for how people actually reacting to it now that it's the second year in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Showery.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be going with Councillor Wright. Like I was gonna vote against this current notice of motion because I have also been favor of the Wellington one in PM and then Dubbo one in AM because I've been in participate both event and it was really successful, and I've been talking to many people and they've been very positive. So and a lot of people want to participate both events. So I think it will be a little bit disadvantage if we do both event in same time. Also, through the council stuff too, they put a lot of effort for this year. So I would like to test it for next year to see how people react. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Showery. Other comment to it? Councillor Ivey?
Could I just seek a point of clarification? In your motion, did you specify that it would be Wellington in the evening and Dubbo in the morning? I thought your motion was it could be either. Does that need to be tidied up?
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. I'll go through. Councillor Wright, if you want to clarify
Sure.
that
Thanks,
part on
Councillor.
your foreshadowed motion.
Thanks, Councillor Ivey. Look, open to discussion on that. Actually, I like the idea of either night. I'd be happy to test the water for Dubbo the night before to give that an alternate. I guess if getting over that initial hurdle of both on the same night, gauging that interest to have them on separate nights, that might need to be amended further. Look, I will make that slight amendment and suggest that we would host the Dubbo event on the evening of the 25th, and then the Wellington event on the morning of Australia Day. So they are two separate. Again, it gives Dubbo that opportunity and to test the water on an evening event on the eve of.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Does that clarify for you, Councillor Ivey?
Yes, it does, and if I can, at some stage, I'd like to speak against that, but when I get the opportunity.
You in committee, so you can speak a number of times, so you can speak on the current motion. You can't speak to the foreshadowed amendment because it's not in front of us at the moment, but you can be clever in what you say to speak to the current motion that's in front of us, if you like, that might speak subtly against that, if that's what you're trying to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's very perceptive of you. So, in speaking to the current motion, I would vote for it on the basis that it preserves the Wellington Australia Day event on the eve. I would be very, very keen to maintain the Wellington event on the eve of Australia Day, rather than switch it back to Australia to the actual day on Australia Day. I think. Look, it was a test this last event, without a doubt. The reaction we had to it and the feedback we got directly seemed to be very, very positive. I think it would be a mistake at this stage for the second event to switch it back to the morning of Australia Day. No matter how much publicity was given, we're just switching it back. We might alternate the two between Wellington and Dubbo. I think that would do damage in the perception in the community, and so therefore I would be very keen to vote for retention of Australia Day on the eve in Wellington, and so that's why I would support this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Other speakers? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was reading through there, and I will vote against this motion. I quite liked option 1 because we haven't got the timing quite bedded down in Wellington yet. There's a change from 5:30 to 6:30. Let's get that really going first and get it all squared away. Then we can have a bit of a look at Dubbo. But thinking back, the National Day is on January 26, and we probably should be having the ceremony on January 26, but it does make a lot of sense to have it on the evening before so people can have a full long weekend, including the community and staff. But I'm happy to go with what the two Wellington councillors have said, that it was a good success last year and that it should be held on the evening of 25 January again next year. But I would like to see the one in Dubbo, the ceremony in Dubbo, held on the actual National Day, which is the morning of the 26th. Let's bed the Wellington one down first. That's my thoughts. And also we saw in the papers, the community survey, it was mid 80% that people wanted it on the 26th in Dubbo, and a morning event. So look, we've asked the community and they've said that, so I'm prepared to go with that for another year, give it another run and just see how it goes. It might be a great time in Wellington at the 6:30 evening event. We can say, righto, well, people have been able to talk through it and come around to the idea we can give it a run in Dubbo. But I'd just like to really get that one bedded in first of all before we try to maybe go a bit too far in one go. You don't want to just overstretch yourself and become a cropper, is my thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Other speakers? Yeah, you can speak as many times as you like, and then you'll also get a right of reply, Councillor Wells, but you can jump in any time. So over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, the reason why I think this is a really good motion, and I hear what my colleagues are saying, but the reason why we moved to change it to a different day initially was because of acknowledging and recognising what that day means to First Nation people. And I think making it on the 25th is a really bold and courageous move for Dubbo Regional Council to push forward. I know it's a lot of stress and impact on our staff, and I know that's challenging. And I too enjoyed attending both events, but I'm more in favour of having both events not occurring on the 26th for the reasons why we initially changed it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wells. Other speakers? And I was a little, yeah, sorry, Councillor Ivey, you can go again.
And I again just asked for clarification from Councillor Wright of his foreshadowed motion. Are you now, having heard the comments, sticking to swapping them to making Dubbo on the eve and Wellington on the morning, or are you might your alternative motions say, look, we want them on different times, but Wellington can stay on the eve and Dubbo can go on the morn?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor
Thank
Ivey.
you, Councillor Ivey. I just do warn you that we don't want to be hassling to other councillors too much here, but happy to take that through to Councillor Wright, if you're happy to answer that, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, look, I am. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Councillor Ivey, just respecting your comments with respect to Wellington community and that consideration for that evening event in Wellington, and then also Councillor Black's comments there as well with respect to not shuffling things around too much, but certainly maybe tweaking that Wellington event. I would be comfortable in a foreshadowed motion being slightly amended to consider an evening event for Wellington on that basis, and a morning event for Dubbo again.
Councillor Wright. Nothing further, Councillor Ivey. And I was actually a bit torn on this because I was very keen to see it change, and I think we were bold and courageous this year, and I was very comfortable with the decision made for council this year. The thing that made me hesitate slightly was when I saw the survey results come in, because I would have liked to have seen more than 33% of people in Wellington say that they preferred it the day before. The problem with the survey is we didn't know how many of the people that attended the actual ceremony actually completed the survey. We know that from Wellington, we know they might have been to a previous ceremony, but we don't know whether they went to the ceremony this year. And there are times when you've got to take direct feedback from our community. There's times you've got to show leadership. And in this particular one, I'm still happy to show leadership for another year, again, given the fact that we can do the same thing again next year, and having done it in both, because remember that the Minister for Citizenship and a few other things made the change just before the ceremony this year, where you could actually have your ceremony 6 days before or 6 days after if it included a citizenship ceremony. We didn't have that option open to us in 2023. We obviously have that option open to us now in 2024. So given the fact that the ministers made that change, that's to me a real signal that we probably got it right before the minister finally made the change. And so let's go down that path for at least another year, give both communities a chance to experience the night before. Again, it's a fine line, listening to the community in a direct survey or showing leadership. In this case, I'm happy to show leadership. So, Councillor Wells, you now have a right of reply to anything that was said in the debate before we vote for it. So you've got that right of reply.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I'll do it slowly just because we've got Councillor Mann online. I know there's a few going each way. So all those in favour of the motions, that'll be both on the Friday night, on the Thursday night, my apologies. All those in favour? All those against? Declare it lost. So now, Councillor Wright, if you want to bring forward your foreshadowed motion, and it's actually a foreshadowed motion now because there's no motion. Certainly. So just if you like, just for Ms. Rouse, if you just put up those who voted for again. So you've got Councillor Etheridge, Ivey, Wells and Dickinson, and then against, obviously. Yep, okay. You can work out the rest from against. Thank you. Councillor Wright, so if you'd like to bring, we've got no motion before us now, if you'd like to bring a motion forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I can recall the exact wording. But the recommendation would be that point 1, that the report of the manager corporate governance be noted. Point 2, that the 2025 WLGA Australia Day ceremonies be held in a similar fashion to 2023, being one event held on the evening of the 25th of January, commencing at 6:30 p.m. in Wellington, and a second event on the morning of the 26th of January, commencing at 8 a.m. And point 3, that an expression of interest process be undertaken to form Australia Day committees for Dubbo and Wellington.
So I've got a move. Thank you, Councillor Wright. Seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wright, do you wish to speak to your motion? Sorry, Councillor Ivey.
I think you said the event on the 25th, oh no, the 25 event. I think you meant the 24 event. 2024, you said.
Yes, eve of the 25th of January. Yes, Thursday, the 25th of January, 2024 in Wellington. Yeah, that's correct.
Thank
Sorry,
you for the point of order, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Wright, do you wish to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't think I've got too much more to add with respect to that. Obviously, some commentary prior to, obviously some sentiment there respecting that, giving that Wellington event an opportunity to bed down, iron out some creases, and I suppose attend to some of that feedback that was provided in those feedback forms. Certainly, I too would like to have seen a lot more feedback forms if there was such strong interest in changing it, keeping it, whatever the community may have wanted. Probably didn't give us a lot to work with respect to that. So certainly after the 2024 event, I'd hope we'd get some really strong feedback either way, and we can look then at what happens in 2025.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Other speakers? Councillor Wells.
So I'll vote against this. I'm not quite sure what the outcome will be, but the reason why I feel strongly about having both events not on the 26th is because of the reasons why we initially made that decision this year. As I said, I know if we have 2 evening sessions on the same time, well, that would pose quite a bit of challenge for the council staff. I get that. Doesn't mean we can't have 2 evening sessions on different dates, but I don't agree with having any events on the 26th. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Other speakers? Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll support Councillor Wright's motion. The feedback I got from Wellington after the event was all positive, except moving it down due to the heat starting at 6:30. I feel we should keep it the same this next year coming, just so people get used to the idea. We got positive comments, so let's move forward with the positivity, and then get some more feedback from next year's event. We don't have to be forerunners in everything, and we're giving people the opportunity to make their own choice.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Any other speakers? Councillor Ivey.
Yes, I'll support the motion. In supporting it, though, I would just make the comment in relation to Councillor Wells' comment, is that by moving it to the 25th, personally, I don't in any way lessen the importance of the 26th of January as Australia's as a national day. As I say, I've been very strong in saying that it is probably the most important day in Australia, full stop, because it was the day 60,000 years of uninterrupted Indigenous occupation effectively came to an end. And that has to be a day that has to be recognised. It's fundamental. It is also the day where Australian society as we know it today started to emerge. And we should be extraordinarily proud of our current society. It is a fantastic society, and it comes about because on the 26th of January 1788, settlement occurred. After settlement, there are all sorts of problems, without a doubt, and they've got to be recognised. But in recognising them, we don't denigrate the 26th of January. And so by moving it to the 25th, I, for one, are not looking to lessen the importance of the day, but rather to make it so that all members of our fantastic society can recognise it for what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any other? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that once we get the Wellington event on the evening of the 25th really bedded in, that it'll probably cross-pollinate across to Dubbo, because people talk, people work in both centres, etc. They're related to people, and that's probably one of our best shots of bringing the whole community with us, and turning around that 85% that definitely wanted on the 26th compared to the 25th. So that's where I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. And I wasn't sure, Councillor Mann, I've just got a reflection in the screen there. I'm not sure if you put your hand up there, but okay, that's fine. Thank you. Councillor Goff.
In the next 2 weeks, I'd really like to see some commentary from the public in a nice fashion on social media. I'd really like to see what their thoughts are, because this isn't the ultimate decision. That's at the council meeting in 2 weeks. So yeah, any feedback would be fantastic.
And a good point, Councillor Goff, too, which I'm sure councillors are aware of, but maybe the public watching this at the moment may not be aware of. Whatever decision council makes now is not the final decision in 2 weeks' time at the council meeting. And so you're right, if you're happy, unhappy, if you've got feedback to give to councillors after whatever decision is made here, then perfect opportunity to give that feedback to councillors. So in 2 weeks' time, when it's finally resolved, we'll get the best decision for the community. Any other comments, councillors, questions? Anything else? Councillor Wright, you have a right of reply because this is not an amendment, it's a new motion, so you don't get a right of reply. Sorry, Councillor Wells. So Councillor Wright.
No, I'm fine. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So again, I'll do it slowly because we've got someone online. So all those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Okay, thank you, councillors. There are no further items for consideration of the Corporate Services Committee. I declare the meeting closed at 6:29 p.m. Web streaming is now being completed. Thank you for your attendance.